We're going to be filming several videos over the next couple of months so that you will be able to see the progress of our project. And I want to introduce you to Dalton Davis, who's the project supervisor, and he'll be along with us to keep us safe, but also to fill in information that I don't know about. So welcome, Dalton, and feel free to jump in anytime. So we're standing in the gathering space, and I want to talk about a couple of things. If we could move over to the center here. The gathering space here is going to be entered through these center doors. And as we've said before, those two side doors will be closed up and they'll be areas for conversation or information. But this is the main pathway. The next thing you will notice in the gathering space here is we have begun work on the ceiling. There will be some acoustical panels that'll look like slats of wood, but they're actually acoustical material, and they will be in the center. And the studding that you see around the edge, that will be sheetrocked, brought down to a slightly lower level so that these acoustical panels will be flush with the ceiling. And that should really deaden our sound here in the gathering space so that visiting here can be more fruitful and less bothersome in the church. The next thing you'll notice is that the baptismal font has been placed. This is a pre-formed baptismal font, and it's in a very rudimentary form at this point. It'll all be surfaced in limestone on the outside and tile on the inside. But you can see how the initiate can step down into water and have water poured over them. So these upper pools will be have water at a very accessible level for signing yourself every Sunday when you come to church. And the lower pool will be only for initiation. There will be doors on both sides so that children couldn't get in, and they'll only open up during a time when someone is being baptized. This is all a pre-formed thing that is done by a professional company that does Catholic baptismal fonts by the hundreds. The next thing we should look at is behind us here is this scaffolding set up for the building of the altarpiece and the placement of the stained glass window. And that altarpiece is going to go all the way to the ceiling and surround that window. And so it takes quite a bit of scaffolding to make all that possible. And but they've already begun to structure that reredos, and it'll be done out of oak, and then the painted panels will be placed later. The painting in the church is all going to be new, and the rafters have already been painted, and they're kind of a dark gray blue, and it seems like the architects really picked the right color. We're very pleased with that. The ceiling, of course, will be white, and then the walls will be two different tones of a grayish white, lighter on the top and darker on the bottom. And there will be a line of stenciling that separates those two colors on the wall. So everything should look fresh and new, and with the stenciling a little bit more ecclesial than it has looked in the past. You might remember that this ceiling came down about 4 feet, and it kind of cut off the Holy Family statue at the head, and so it just didn't really work as a chapel. Fortunately, we were able to raise that up, and there's a structural beam that had to go across here because it's a weight-bearing, it holds up the roof at this point. However, this is really going to open this up. This is going to become the Thomas More chapel, and the votive lights, votive candles will be in here just like they were before, except the Holy Family statue will be replaced by the statue of St. Thomas More. So this is where the Holy Family statue will be. It's already been placed. There's going to be a small platform that it'll rest on and get it all perfectly level. I don't know if this is going to be its permanent home, but for the immediate future, this is where the Holy Family statue will be. I think it's kind of nicely framed under this loggia, and I think it really looks good here, but we'll see what people's reaction is in the future, but this is where it is for now. This is the new working sacristy that we've been talking about back behind the altar wall. And so there'll be cabinetry here on the right and more cabinetry here. You see the plumbing already installed for the sink and the outlets on counter level, and there'll be upper cabinets. So everything that used to be stored in the old sacristy will now be back here. It'll be so much closer to the altar so that less trouble for the sacristans to set up and take down after Mass, easier for the servers, etc. And this is where the extraordinary ministers will come back and consume extra hosts and finish off the chalices and that sort of thing. It'll all be kind of out of sight, so less distraction for people's prayer after communion.
Yeah, up there, that's where we're moving all the organ speakers up to where you see the new framing up there. And then underneath that, you'll have tectum panels like this running across there, and then we'll put that acoustical fabric over top there, so the speakers will set up there now. All the ones that run over to where the organ will be. So.
These trees we're preserving, these ginkgo trees, but the area around them is going to actually be much larger for more root space than was before. We used to have these round planters around the trunks. Now this is going to be a larger area, and Gavin, who is a parishioner and also a landscape artist, he has designed this with taller plants in the back and shorter ones in the front, and he's got a very nice design, and so this whole thing is going to be much more attractive than it has been in the past. The old altar has been buried here under the plaza, and it'll be right in the center in the walking path. And as you might know, old altars, blessed objects, they have to be destroyed in some way. If they're burnable, they should be burned. Otherwise, they should be buried. And altars are supposed to be broken up so that they could never be used for some secular purpose as a table or something like that. So it's broken up slightly and buried under here, and so it'll always be a part of our journey to the kingdom of God.